Hey, so welcome back. I'm Tatiana, and today I want to speak directly to the women who may sometimes carry a lot. Women who lead, women who show up for others, women who want to be seen as valuable, strong, or who may have even got on the train of wanting to consider themselves a high value woman. I want to make something clear from the very start. Being a woman of value does not mean perfection. It does not mean that, it does not mean endless strength. It does not mean that you never miss the mark. It means that you are committed to growth. It means that you take responsibility for how you move throughout the world, how you navigate your relationships, how you show up for yourself. And it means that you use both your wins and your mistakes as information and not your identity. So today, I am going to, or would like to break down what I believe can define a woman of value, what she is not, and why embracing things like feedback or correction or just different forms of learning is just a part of the process that can help you to develop into the woman you want to be. It's not a threat to your worth. And so, a woman of value is not someone who just show up with expensive, high quality clothing. She is not someone that just goes to all these certain restaurants, drives certain vehicles, makes a certain amount of money a year. A woman of value has depth. She has self awareness. She knows that her strength does not come from her performance. It comes from her willingness to continue to develop and to continue developing over time. She also knows that her strength and the things that she is solid in does that mean does not mean that she has to compete with her partner or her friends or others in the workplace. So let me just try to bring a little bit more clarity to what I'm saying. A woman of value makes decisions that are rooted in her values and are rooted in integrity. She honors her word, but she also honors her limits. She honors her boundaries. She knows what she can handle and what she can't handle. She is someone who communicates with purpose and not with ego. What do you have to prove? She's someone that accepts feedback without cowering or collapsing into this feeling of shame. She recovers from setbacks with clarity and not self punishment. And trust me when I say that these things take time to develop into, especially if you're not already practicing this. But just hear me so that we can get just different ideas of what a woman of value is and not someone who can just throw it back and please men in a certain way because you're more than that. A woman of value understands that growth requires honesty and not perfection. You are honest with yourself and honest with those that you are connected to, honest about your situation. You're not perfect, but you can be perfected along the way. And so we don't have to live our life going, you know, going by the checklist that we create. It's a posture of our heart, how we carry ourselves, how we respond, how we prepare, how do we lead. And as mentioned a tad bit, sometimes uh, people can confuse value with the way that you look, with image. But sometimes it is the person, um, it's how they stand out. Even when it comes to, can I trust you? Do you respect me? Just things like that that can be overlooked. Do you listen to me when I speak? If you are that woman who does those things, sometimes you may find that people may naturally gravitate towards you. those women are the ones who are grounded, and consistency plays a part too. So let me touch a little bit about what a woman of worth, a woman of value isn't. So, um, a woman of value, like I said, is just not solely based on what she can do for you, her cooking. That can be valuable, but that doesn't make her a woman of value. Okay. A woman of value um, may not be emotionally available. She may be a woman that's cold. Um, she thinks that she's always right. She may feel like she is above correction. She doesn't need feedback. She knows it all already. You can't tell her anything because she knows. This is not the woman of worth or woman of value that we want to be. A woman of value is also not strong because she stands on her own, but she's strong because of those who are around her. She has sound counsel. She doesn't always lean to her own understanding because sometimes when we get into a space when emotions are high, we may not always think the clearest. We may not always think logically. And we're making decisions based on how we feel in a moment that can tear up so many things and destroy something for a lifetime. And so we want to address these things today because we have some room for growth. Strength without humility can be a performance. Confidence without being aware of, how you show up and doing some self-reflection can lead to defensiveness. And for those who um, lead often, having a discipline without compassion, even for yourself, can turn into burnout very quickly. And so I want you to think if the image of a high value woman is someone who never gets it wrong, that's not really something we want to be chasing after. It's only another mask that we are putting up. And haven't we put up enough masks already? It's like, can a real woman of value stand up? And that the thing is, the real woman of value, we don't all look the same. We don't look the same. And it seems that there have been these constructions of what a woman of value is supposed to be. High value woman is supposed to be hair, nails, feet, clothes, finances, yada yada yada. How many kids does she have? Does she not have? You know, we don't look the same. And there is beauty in learning who you are, discovering who you are truly, and showing up as that person. And that is a win. But I feel like I'm getting a little off tangent. I'm getting a little off topic. But some of the things that we might find difficult is what helps us to grow and value not just to others but in ourselves. It helps to develop character, like admit when you're wrong, admit when you may have miscommunicated something, and acknowledge when you are the one that hurts someone. Because it can be easy to say such and such did this to me, but what about what you may have said or what you may have done? And if that is the case, acknowledge it, apologize if needed, make it right, make amends. Take notice of the patterns that may sabotage your relationships, um, and adjust. So don't just apologize, make the adjustment, make the change. We don't want to say that we're sorry and we're doing the same thing over and over again. Who wants that? Okay. And another thing is take responsibility for these things without shame, without condemnation. Admitting to this is not to create a space for you to be humiliated. It may hurt. It may sting a little bit because it's like, ouch, I don't like the feeling that I'm sitting in right now, but it's okay. You know, this may sound a little rude, but you will get over it. You will become, um, or may become more accustomed to being uncomfortable and not being in a safe zone all the time. And being uncomfortable can look like apologizing. And so I know earlier I mentioned, you know, being a woman of value does not mean that you never miss the mark. It doesn't mean that you show up right all the time. And missing the mark doesn't mean failure. You know, we just might not have gotten it right because everybody has moments when they probably wish they would have handled a situation differently. Not just women, anybody. And then, um, but the thing is, you may reflect and then you say, I'm not going to do that the next time. So a woman of value can make choices in the past, reflect, adjust, and is intentional to not do that thing again if it didn't serve her or anyone else. So yeah, that part is that. So the other thing that I want you guys to take note of is recognizing that we have patterns that are healthy and some dysfunctional and some unhealthy. Being a woman of value means, you know, taking acknowledgement of the patterns that we get to break, beliefs that we get to unlearn, behaviors that we get to outgrow. And when you understand this, um, mistakes stop, they may stop feeling like character flaws. It may help you to stop taking everything so personally. They get to become places where you pause, take a step back, you know, and just move forward with more insight than you probably had before. And so the truth is, many of us would probably like to go forward with ease without feeling any type of friction, anything coming up against us. But how will you know how strong you are if you don't overcome that hard place? If you don't overcome that friction, if you don't break through those hard walls, you can't grow through certain things without exposure to things that challenge you. How will you strengthen your communication if everything is always easy? You can't even strengthen your boundaries or self worth or different relationships that you have without facing the parts of yourself that need refinement. I had no idea how many things I needed to work on until until I was met with someone who challenged the person that showed up every day that I was used to. The thing that nobody said, the thing that nobody raised as a potential concern, especially long term, there was someone that challenged me, which made me think maybe it's you that's the problem because you seem to be the only one that's saying something about this, but that's not true. I may have received that feedback from another person in a different form, and I probably just thought I did the work. Maybe didn't think it was that serious, whatever it is, but it was still showing up. And so that refinement happens when you're met with those challenges and also when you're willing to acknowledge that it's there, when you're acknowledging that maybe your approach isn't working, maybe you're not showing up as well as you thought you were. Maybe it has to do with changing how you handle a situation. And guess what? That's okay because that's called maturity, developing and growing in your emotional intelligence. I think that's okay. And so I think this part is really important is taking feedback without feeling like you're losing yourself. Because sometimes, women who are listening, sometimes we struggle with feedback because it may have been weaponized against us at some point, right? You may have the experience of somebody giving you information to kind of throw at you, um, to use against you in an unhealthy manner, in a way that's supposed to hurt you. But really, feedback, and specifically healthy feedback, is a tool to support you and help you, and is not supposed to be a threat. And so, feedback can look like listening without preparing a defense, listening without preparing a rebuttal, listening without waiting for your turn to say why you don't agree with the other person. You listen not because you're wrong, but because you're curious. That's what it can be like when you're listening. So instead of preparing for a rebuttal, listen and be curious about what the other person is really saying, what it is that they really mean, who it is that they are, what are the concerns that they have, and see how do they want to grow with you. Healthy feedback can also separate tone from truth, because even imperfect feedback may contain some type of insight that can be of use. When you're also talking to someone, you may also ask yourself, okay, so what part of this conversation can I take away, that can help me grow? Or just implement the change where it makes sense to you. And so when we embrace some of these things, it helps us to gain influence, move with clarity, build healthier relationships, create healthy boundaries. And it also shows, others around you, especially if you have any younger ones, children that may be watching you, maybe in the classroom, in the home. It shows those who are watching you that leadership is not about being untouchable. It's about being teachable, malleable, moldable. Okay? You didn't come out the womb like that. Probably came out the womb with some great gifts and skills, but even those had to be refined too. Why not our character? And so take this. Know that value is developed, and it is a continuous, growth is a continuous practice. And so that means for you, woman of value, you may practice reflections, having accountability, having emotional regulation, self awareness, setting boundaries, practicing healthier communication habits, and being consistent in the things that you're doing. You don't have to chew off everything at once and try to implement every skill and, try to change every area that you feel needs to be worked on. Start one step at a time and be consistent in whatever area that you choose to focus on at that time. These are skills and not personality traits. Like I said, they get stronger with practice, they develop over time, and often are built through the experiences that stretch you, the things that makes you uncomfortable. It doesn't require you to be flawless. This process requires you to be honest. And so one of the things that you may say along the journey that can help you to remind yourself that you don't have to be perfect on this journey is to know that, okay, I'm learning. I'm still learning. Okay, I'm adjusting. I heard this feedback. I'm going to make the adjustment. I'm not yet where I want to be, but I'm committed. Okay. And so you building consistency and commitment not only helps others, but it also builds trust with yourself. So you know that you're serious about what it is that you're saying. And also give yourself permission to simply be human. Like I said, you don't have to be composed all the time. You know, you can be productive and be the example. We can be the example, but you don't always have to be the example. You don't always have to be productive. This is the part where you get to practice compassion. Relax, rest, be you, be real, be relatable. And you don't have to force yourself to be relatable. You know, we try too hard to do some of these things. Give yourself permission to rest. Ask questions if you really don't know what somebody's talking about or if you don't understand something. Allow yourself to be corrected or given feedback without collapsing. Allow yourself to rebuild after a season and even after a difficult season. And remember, you don't have to have all the answers. Authenticity has more impact than how you physically show up alone. So, in closing, a woman of value is not defined by how perfectly she performs. Okay. Just imagine how exhausting that may be to show up perfect every day. I don't even want to do it myself. And I don't. Okay. This woman is, she's someone that grows. She loves to grow. She aligns herself with her values and keeps focus on who she is developing and who she's becoming. She responds, she knows how to respond when life challenges her. She may not always respond perfectly, but like we said before, we're adjusting, we're making changes, we're learning. It's not about the image you maintain. It's about the character that you're building and that you have built. It's in your willingness to develop, to reflect, to make changes, and to rise. So if you have been carrying the weight of perfection, release it. If you've been hiding your mistakes, learn from them. Shame is not your portion. If you have been afraid of correction, embrace it as a tool for growth. And I'm not saying stay in a place where somebody is just constantly ridiculing you, condemning you, all the unhealthy things, get out of that space. That's not what I'm talking about. People can correct you in love, and correcting you in love doesn't always mean that it's going to be a soft approach. Mm-mm. Let's get that out of our heads too. Correcting in love is being honest with you, bringing that feedback that can help you make the adjustments and tear down those things, help you to see the dysfunction, help you to see where you've been running away, helping you to see the patterns, the cycles that has been going on for way too long, even when it hurts to be heard. Correcting in love, that's just one of the ways. But remember, this is a process of becoming and being perfected. As you are perfected, you let go of those old things, let go of the things that are behind so that you can be made new. Okay? Yeah. Continue to learn, continue to show up, keep growing. This is what's going to build you up. And, just as the song says, a rose is still a rose. Baby girl, you're still a flower. Okay? I hope this was a valuable substance for you. And I would love to hear feedback and how you yourself are growing and becoming as a woman of value. And so until next time, love on yourself and love on those around you.